And I call the member for McPherson.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Each of us comes to this place with ideals, values, goals and an earnest desire to contribute to the future of our nation. Read the maiden speech of any member of this House or any senator and you will see those hopes and expectations in their purest form. You'll notice these speeches are devoid of the vitriol, game playing and insincerity that the Australian public have come to characterise as the mainstays of our political system. It's a great shame that this perception of Australian politics has become the norm and that public confidence in parliamentarians has been on a downward trajectory for many years. It's a great pity that the 24-hour news cycle tends to amplify dysfunction, characterise debates as division and promote quick fixes over long-term solutions. And it is our great challenge as members of this place to contest that prevailing culture through hard work, clear thinking and, frankly, better behaviour. It's never been my style to engage in the intrigue, game playing or name calling that occurs in this place, and I'm not about to begin. But I think we all realise there is a discord between what goes on here and the expectations of the Australian people. We all need to do better. This debate is an essential opportunity for each of us to revisit the ideals, hopes and optimism expressed in our maiden speeches and to ensure that they are what underpin our work rather than what is trending on Twitter or what appears popular according to a poll. In my maiden speech, which I delivered on the 25th of October 2020, I spoke specifically about practical priorities for my electorate, including infrastructure, business and veterans. I'm pleased to have delivered on all these three issues and to have worked closely with the McPherson community to strengthen the southern Gold Coast. On infrastructure, in the middle of last year, I secured federal funding to upgrade the M1 from 4 lanes to 6 between Robina Town Centre and Reedy Creek Road. Just last week, it was announced that agreement has been reached with the state government and that early construction will commence in the middle of this year. This is great news for motorists who spend considerable time every morning and every afternoon stuck in what is known locally as the Robina car park and stuck further south of the M1. I'll continue my fight for the widening of the M1 through to Tugun. Whilst planning for this further upgrade is about to start, it's essential that there are no delays to construction and that there is a continuous build through to Tugun, not the stop-start that has dogged the upgrade so far on the southern Gold Coast. But this isn't all that's needed on the M1. I've already raised with the state government and with my federal colleagues the need to address urgently 2 bottlenecks: southbound at the Bermuda Street merge and northbound at the KP McGrath merge. There is capacity already there to extend the slip lanes and by doing so to relieve the delays at those 2 key points. I can assure locals that I'll continue to fight to fix the bottlenecks and widen the M1 all the way through to Tugun as a priority. Of course, the M1 is not the only infrastructure priority, and over the last 3 years I've helped secure $95 million for Stage 2 of the Gold Coast Light Rail, $38 million to the Gold Coast City Council in Roads to Recovery funding to improve Gold Coast roads, and $1.7 million to fix local dangerous accident black spots, as well as funding to fix telecommunications black spots with the construction of a new mobile base station on Currumbin Creek Road and to speed up the rollout of the NBN locally. I've also delivered the new smart tracking system at the Gold Coast Airport at Coolangatta. When it comes to local businesses, the Coalition has certainly delivered over the past 3 years, cutting $4.5 billion in red tape and regulation, reducing the tax burden by cutting company tax rates and providing immediate tax deductions for assets up to $20,000, and we've opened up overseas markets like never before with our crucial trade agreements. In McPherson, I've helped secure important support for local businesses with over $466,000 in commercialisation funding, $84,000 in industry skills funding, $14,000 in business growth grants and $32,000 for vocational excellence grants. As I've said many times before, the education sector is thriving in my electorate, with Australia's largest private university, Bond University, a leader in innovation, and many other local schools and training organisations offering cutting-edge skills and qualifications. In fact, I've secured more than $5.1 million in Australian Research Council grants for local research projects, $224,000 in Endeavour fellowships and scholarships, $134,000 in New Colombo Plan scholarships to help local students study overseas, and $140,000 to Southern Cross University for specialty mathematics programs. The Coalition has also helped fund the Gold Coast Science and Tech Fest and a range of programs in local schools, as well as provided over $2 million in infrastructure funding for local schools. Mr Deputy Speaker, it would take more time than we have today to outline the full extent of the funding that has flowed to the Southern Gold Coast since the Coalition has come to office in 2013. It's been my great honour and privilege to work with the community to make that happen. But there is one section of our community in particular that I have to confess it's my great joy to work with, and that's our veterans and servicemen and women. During the past term of office, we had the incredible opportunity to acknowledge the centenary of the Gallipoli landing and many other significant anniversaries. For our local community, I'm delighted to have delivered over $130,000 to local RSLs and community groups to commemorate the centenary of Anzac, practical support for local veterans with close to $100,000 in BEST grants to help veterans, and provided a range of support through various Saluting Their Services and Veterans and Community grants. And these are important in helping ensure that the legacy of our veterans is remembered for generations to come. Local veterans organisations have also had several opportunities to meet with the Veterans Minister as I've hosted roundtable discussions that have been very productive. Our local RSLs and veterans organisations are a shining example of our many community organisations that work for the betterment of not just their members but all Southern Gold Coast residents. Our many surf lifesaving clubs are another example, with so many local volunteers giving generously of their time. It's tremendously positive for our government to be providing over $300,000 to local surf lifesaving clubs to help them purchase vital equipment. One of the things I'm very proud of is recognising our many volunteers through my annual McPherson Awards. These awards are a way for our community to say thank you to those who have given their time and really are the heart and soul of our community. We have 3 categories: Community Achiever, Surf Lifesaving Achiever and Young Achiever. And nominations are now open for the 2017 awards, and I encourage the Southern Gold Coast community to nominate a local hero. Fostering the spirit of volunteerism and supporting the community is, I believe, an important part of my job as the local member. The intrinsic spirit of our local communities is something I believe in very strongly. It's where the solution to so many issues can be found. We need to support the community sector, as we have through the Volunteers Grants program, where 29 of my local community organisations shared in $120,000 for equipment to make their work easier. This is a great program, first introduced by the Howard government, which I'm very pleased we have restored. I'm also heartened that one of the first pieces of legislation the Turnbull government introduced this term is a bill to stop the hostile takeover of the CFA in Victoria by the union movement. Community volunteer organisations like the CFA don't need more intervention and obstruction. In fact, we need to be removing red tape wherever possible. Smaller government, stronger communities, that should be our aim. So it is a positive sign of our core belief in community that we have moved so decisively in this matter. And by contrast, it's a sign of Labor's enduring pact with the unions that they could not allow such a threat to CFA to even eventuate. It's my hope, and it will certainly be my aim, to ensure that the Coalition's policy positions during the 45th Parliament are similarly based on our core beliefs. Like I said at the beginning of this speech, our policies need to have the solid foundation of our expressed values and ideals. The values so many of us articulate in our maiden speeches are a yardstick of why we choose to serve our communities in the Parliament. I'm not advocating for ideology-driven government. Of course we need to be practical. Our values must always be couched in the mainstream and expressed through the prism of the national interest. By articulating policies founded on our shared values and common beliefs, we will be able to give the Australian public a much clearer picture of what we stand for. Policy that is based on whims, trends or fashion is never as enduring. I also want to point out that in arguing for a more constructive Parliament, I'm not advocating for less robust debate. Indeed, part of the problem with the current political climate is that debate is too often shut down and that tactics like vilifying and name-calling are employed as a substitute for serious discussion. Debates are too often divided among partisan lines and personalities rather than the merits of an argument. Robust debate is the cornerstone of any thriving democracy, and we should never hide from it. So in arguing for better standards, I'm also arguing for more robust debate, but debate where arguments of merit are not drowned out. But common sense must prevail. The national interest has to be put above partisan interests, and we must remember that the Australian people want their elected government to govern. The public want the opposition and crossbenchers to respect that fact and seek constructive common ground. One of the other qualities that I mentioned earlier that will help change the negative public perception of our political culture is hard work. I've been honoured over the first term of the Coalition Government to have been tasked with a number of leadership roles, including Chairman of the Joint Public Works Committee, Member of the Speakers Panel, Parliamentary Secretary for Industry and Science, Assistant Minister for Science and now Assistant Minister for Vocational Education and Skills. These are all roles that I've taken up with vigour and which I am pleased to have made a contribution. These additional roles have allowed me to apply my specific skills and knowledge, especially when it comes to science and technology, and to meet with and gain insights from some of our leading scientists, educators and business people. I take this opportunity to thank the many people around the country who have given me the benefit of their views and experience over the past 3 years. I'm extremely excited and optimistic to now be working to improve and strengthen the vet sector, which is so crucial to addressing skills shortages and providing alternative pathways to further education. The Coalition has always fundamentally believed in apprenticeships and vocational education. We have announced a new affordable, sustainable and student-focused vet student loans program that will restore integrity to the system and ensure it is preparing students for employment. I look forward to continuing to work with the sector, with industry and with students to ensure we achieve the very best vet outcome in the future. Whatever my additional or ministerial roles, I have always made certain that the people of McPherson remain my first priority. Regular listening posts have always been part of my schedule and they will remain so. Attending local community functions and supporting local community events is something I will always make time for. And assisting local constituents and small businesses is the mainstay of my job. I take this opportunity to thank the people of McPherson for re-electing me. It is a great honour that I intend to repay through continued hard work and commitment. I thank the many local residents I've worked with over the years and those who've stopped to share their views with me. Your feedback helps me to better represent you and our community. There is, of course, a special group of locals that I've relied on. Those who formed my campaign team and gave their time through the long 8 weeks of campaigning, manning roadsides, working at pre-poll and, of course, on election day. Anyone who has ever run for office knows it truly is a group effort. It's a testament to our campaign team that in 2013 we achieved a swing to us that was significantly better than the state average. And the last election, our performance in McPherson was again a standout. Thanks, team. We've got some impressive runs on the board. It would be difficult to name everyone, but there are some special people that I would like to thank. Let me thank Peter Barrett, Maggie Bevans, Roger Campbell, Peter Cannon, Wendy Coe, Chris Crawford, Dorothy Davis, Lynn Dine, Roger Emerson, Wendy Flett, Mary Flynn, Peter Flynn, John Forrester, Roger Green, Hilary Green, Boyd Hayne, Peter Hyde, Elaine Hyde, Greg Ingram, John Carney, Jazane Lee, Anthony Lind, Dick Lucas, Eva Lucas, Nola Matai, Peter McKean, Ben Naday, Cheryl Pearson, Linda Perkins, Ron Peer, Cherry Peer, Kevin Powell, Andy Rajapusky, Paul Rimington, Jeffrey Robinson, Barry Skinner, Fran Ward Ebbinson, Keith Wright and Ada Wright. Can I give some special mentions also to Bruce and Muriel Duncan, Margot Gates, Jack McClintock, Callum Whitehead and Selma Schuller. There are some really special people, and let me acknowledge and thank Hamish Douglas and Natalie Douglas, and to the woman who self-describes as my wingman, Janelle Manders, to my mother Moya and my sister Anne. Thank you so much once again, and for everything that you've done over the years, and particularly during the election campaigns where you stood on countless polling booths handing out for me. I do really appreciate it. To my husband Chris, who when I was first elected was described as my long-suffering husband, and I rejected that at the time. I think that now 7 years past the election, I would say, yes, you are my long-suffering husband, and can I say we have recently celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary, so Chris, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that. I have 3 amazing children, Emma, Jane and Kate, and when I first spoke in this place, I spoke directly to them as they were seated up in the gallery. And the words that I said to them are as true today as they were then, and what they will be in the future. And my words to them were always to believe in yourself, girls, because I believe in you.
I thank the honourable member for that contribution, and can I add that your husband is a long-suffering husband. I know that. And your kids are just so perfect. You must be very happy with them. I